For years, you imagine this moment happening with fireworks. Maybe you'd quit on the spot, call your family, or finally feel like you'd made it. But when it actually happens, nothing happens. It's an ordinary Wednesday morning. You're standing beside the office coffee machine, waiting for it to finish brewing. Your phone vibrates once. Your paycheck has arrived, exactly as expected. You glance at the number, lock the screen, and slip the phone back into your pocket. A few minutes later, curiosity makes you check your investment account. Without you lifting a finger, without answering an email, without attending a single meeting, your investments have quietly earned more today than your paycheck. No applause, no congratulations. Your manager walks past without looking. Coworkers laugh about weekend plans. The coffee machine hums like every other morning. The biggest financial milestone of your life happens in complete silence. And that's when one question hits harder than the number itself. How did something so invisible become more powerful than the job I'd spent decades depending on? The answer didn't begin with a huge salary. It began with an amount so small it almost felt embarrassing. More than 30 years earlier, your first paycheck feels exciting for exactly one weekend. Then reality starts collecting its share. Rent disappears first. Utilities follow. Groceries stretch further than they should. By the second week, checking your bank balance becomes something you avoid because you already know what you'll see. There isn't much left. Certainly not enough to feel like an investor. During orientation, someone from Human Resources hands you a stack of benefits paperwork. Most of it looks forgettable until one sentence catches your attention. If you contribute to your retirement account, the company will match part of it. Free money. It sounds almost too simple. Still, giving up part of a paycheck that's already disappearing feels painful. Every dollar invested is one less dollar available for tonight's dinner, next month's bills, or the little comforts that make stressful weeks easier. Your first contribution is so small, it barely seems worth tracking. You look at the balance weeks later and almost laugh. That's it. It doesn't feel like the beginning of wealth. It feels like sacrificing today for something that may never matter. But the smallest seeds never look like forests. Around that same time, your coworker Derek starts with you. Derek isn't reckless, he isn't irresponsible, he's simply making the choices most people make. When payday comes, he upgrades his phone. A bonus becomes a vacation. A raise becomes a nicer apartment. Whenever life improves, his lifestyle improves with it. Meanwhile, you make one decision almost nobody notices. Before paying yourself, you pay your future. The investment happens automatically before your spending ever begins. You keep driving the same reliable car. You skip upgrades that would impress strangers for a week but delay your future for years. From the outside, nothing about your life looks exciting. Sometimes it even feels like Derek is winning. He's enjoying life now. You're saying no to things you can technically afford. There are evenings when you wonder if you're being too cautious, if maybe everyone else understands something you don't. But every month, while no one is watching, another tiny contribution quietly joins the last one. Not enough to change your life today, just enough to make tomorrow slightly different. And tomorrow has an interesting habit of arriving thousands of times. The years pass so quietly you almost miss what's changing. The office is still the same. The coffee machine still makes the same strange noise every morning. Your coworkers tell the same stories. You still park the same dependable car outside. Life doesn't suddenly become luxurious. It becomes calmer. You stop checking your account every week because the habit no longer needs your attention. The machine is running on its own. While everyone else is chasing the next paycheck, something invisible is slowly learning to work without you. Then one afternoon, your manager calls you into the office. A promotion, higher salary, longer hours, more responsibility. Years ago, you'd have accepted before the conversation even ended. This time, You ask for a day to think. That night, you don't calculate how much more money you'll make. You calculate something else. How many dinners you'll miss, how many weekends disappear, how much peace you'll trade for another raise. And for the first time in your life, you realize you don't actually need every extra dollar, because the quiet machine you've been building for years is already carrying part of the load. The next morning, you politely decline the promotion, not because ambition disappeared, because something far more valuable had finally arrived: choice. That's when wealth truly begins, not when money buys bigger houses, not when it buys expensive cars, but when it quietly buys back the freedom to spend your life.
And the most incredible part? Almost nobody notices that moment either. Then life reminds you that every long-term plan eventually gets tested. The headlines grow darker every week, markets tumble, experts argue on television, coworkers stop talking about vacations and start talking about losses. One evening, you open your investment account and freeze. Years of steady progress seem to vanish in months. The number on the screen is lower than it has been in years. It isn't just money. It feels like time itself has disappeared. Every sacrifice, every skipped purchase, every ordinary decision that once felt meaningful suddenly looks like a mistake. For the first time, you don't question the market, you question yourself. Was Derek right all along? Maybe enjoying life today was smarter than trusting a future nobody could guarantee. Your finger hovers over the button that could stop every automatic investment. Just one tap, and the uncertainty would finally end. But then you remember something your younger self almost forgot. The plan was never built for perfect years. It was built for difficult ones. So instead of changing anything, you make the hardest financial decision of your life. You do absolutely nothing. You keep investing, not because you're fearless, because you've learned that discipline matters most when confidence disappears. Months later, the panic begins to fade. Then slowly, almost invisibly, the market starts breathing again. The losses shrink. The investments you kept buying during the crash begin growing faster than anything you purchased during the good years. You weren't rewarded because you predicted the recovery. You were rewarded because you survived the fear. That's when you finally understand the difference between investing and gambling. Gamblers need to be right. Investors need to stay. Patience beats prediction every single time. Years pass. The office hardly changes. The same parking lot, the same coffee machine, the same Monday meetings. On another ordinary morning, your paycheck lands in your account. A few moments later, another notification quietly appears. Today's investment gains have already earned more than your entire paycheck. You stare at the screen for a second, then lock your phone. No celebration, no dramatic resignation, no speech. Your coworkers continue discussing deadlines. Your boss walks by with another meeting request. The world doesn't notice, but you do. The finish line you'd imagined for decades doesn't feel loud, it feels peaceful. Something else changes that day. Not your bank account, you. Budget meetings no longer make your stomach tighten. Rumors about layoffs no longer keep you awake at night. You stop measuring your worth by promotions. You stop saying yes because you're afraid to say no. The office hasn't changed. The boss hasn't changed. The meetings haven't changed. Only one thing is different. Fear is no longer making your decisions. For years, you believed financial freedom meant escaping work. But standing there with coffee in your hand, you realized something much deeper. The goal was never to retire as early as possible. It was never becoming the richest person in the room. It wasn't even quitting your job. The real victory was reaching the point where your survival no longer depended on someone else's approval. That's a freedom no paycheck can buy. Think back to that tiny investment that once looked almost embarrassing. It wasn't building a fortune overnight. It was planting a seed. Every automatic contribution added another ring to its trunk. Every market crash strengthened its roots.
Every year of patience helped it grow taller without making a sound. One quiet morning, you simply looked up and realized the tree had become strong enough to provide its own shade. That's how real wealth grows, quietly, patiently, almost invisibly. Because wealth isn't the day your bank account changes, it's the day your fear loses its job.